doing some things that you kind of aren't passionate about, but that like keeps the things going, like taking jobs that like are kind of in the same direction. Like for me, creatively, it was commissions. I love commissions to an extent, but it's not necessarily what I'm passionate about. And so I had to like make sacrifices of my creativity for like the first 2 years. I was just kind of doing commissions, and it was like definitely hard on like my, like, you know, my keeping it going, but I had to have that goal. But I think getting a mentor or like interning for somebody is honestly could even be more like better than college, going to school, getting a degree. Not saying you shouldn't. I'm in school currently, but like those really help you out. I've had mentorships for other artists, and I've talked to them a lot about their business, what they do. And I kind of like copy and paste, like whatever works for them. I try it for myself. If it works, I keep it. If it not, I just move on to the next thing. And then also getting business mentors. There's a free nonprofit program that I actually do. Forget the name of it, but it's a free mentorship. And once a week I get on this phone call, and my mentor is an also business owner, and she's had like 20 years of experience. And we sit and we talk about like our financial breakdowns. We like sit and we discuss like plans, and yeah, so there are opportunities. Like you just really have to like look for them.
And commit yourself to being opening, being learning. Reality is, yeah, I like what you said there, because it was like, I was listening to a podcast, I think it was like yesterday, and they were just saying how one of the speakers on it said the way he measured like a love for something was how much time you're willing to give up to make it happen, and how much you're willing to commit to do it the right way. Right. Yeah. So that's how much like you're willing to, okay, maybe you didn't necessarily expect the business side of it to be this much of like okay, I really need to learn this. Yeah. But you realize, okay, well, I want to do a passion that makes money. And if I learn the money side of it, that's just a key component. This is a decision time. Like either do it, or I can put it off. And, you know, you face different kind of struggles. So it's super cool. Now let's go way back a little bit. I want to talk about this story. Tell me about the story of 5-year-old you, and like why it's relevant to everything that's kind of happening now in your world.
Yeah. So the story you're talking about is actually one that I didn't even realize was a story until like 3 or 4 months ago. Like I literally just like found it. But basically, you know, in kindergarten where you have those like graduations and you walk down the line and you like might say something, I like vaguely remembered it. And I was at my grandparents' house, and we were going through like old footage that like we've never seen before. We just got like an old school VCR camcorder that we like popped in. And we were looking through it, and it was like my kindergarten graduation. So I'm like 5 years old. I'm like walking on stage. Nobody in my family remembers this moment. Nobody like ever, like it's just erased from all of our memories. And we're sitting there, we're watching it. And I'm like 3 years deep into like being an artist. And I'm like, my little self walks on stage, and then I go up to the microphone, and I'm like, when I grow up, I want to be an artist. And I like all of my family was just like, because growing up, I didn't even remember wanting to be an artist. Like I wanted to be like a lawyer or fashion designer, something like all over the place I was. Yeah. So it was so cool to see that like visual, just like little 5-year-old Mikayla being like, I wanted to be an artist. And then like I actually full circle came back to it and like did it. So that was cool. Like really awesome.
Yeah. And it goes back to what you said earlier, just kind of the power of like these little manifestations, kind of what you expose yourself to. You know, it makes me now, like, I hear a lot of similar stories, and I have one, like, similar as well. And it just makes me, when I get older, like, exposing my, you know, kids just more. Like, what are they piquing their interest in? Like, get them talking about it early. Because it is very powerful. Like, when you, as soon as you can, like, really fall in love with something, you can really start to, like, kind of take the reins and do what needs to be done. Now let's go a little different direction. Where maybe some role models or inspiration you've had? Like obviously people are going to learn a lot from you, you know, from this and wherever this gets shared and everything. So like who have you mentioned that one mentor, you know, maybe even in the pop culture world, you know, like who are people you've kind of like looked to pull stuff from?
I'm like very old schooly. Like cool. I love watching like old school documentaries, films and stuff like that. The person that is most significant, which a lot of people actually relate to, is Frida Kahlo. She was like my girl. Like in the very beginning, I used to play the Salma Hayek Frida movie. You've probably never seen it. I used to play that on repeat because it was so inspirational artist. I think I watched it maybe like 200 times. And like anytime I was having a crappy day, like art wise, I would put it on and I would like try to be inspired. But yeah, no, Frida Kahlo was definitely a big, I honestly like encourage anybody to look at somebody who you like want to be, not be, but like be like, and really just like focus on like what they do, how they do it, their mindset. Like that was huge. And Frida Kahlo is definitely one of them for me. I mean, all the basketball players, I studied them so much. Those were like big. Yeah. Kareem Abdul Jabbar is actually my favorite of all time basketball player.
Can you take me through that study process after this too? Because I think I can relate really well with that. But
yeah. So Kareem, I love Kobe, I love MJ, I love that. But like Kareem, he really was kind of like the trailblazer of like discipline, like all the way back. Not only was he like going through like the hustle of basketball, he was also like fighting like civil rights. He was going through like so much like mental, just not for what he wanted, but what he also believed in to be right. So like that was just like skyhook. He was there's just so much I could get into right now about him. But yeah, like he's awesome. He's like literally right there doing a skyhook. But yeah, no, Kareem Abdul Jabbar, he's great. And then also how he took under like Magic Johnson under his wing, kind of like there was a competitive edge that they had, but he also ended up helping him out a lot. If you look into their story, you can.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's so many layers that I just love about Kareem.
Very cool. Yeah. Now walk me down this. What do you do kind of to prep? Because I think that's a good value for any artist who wants to like maybe they have similar, not in that realm, but any industry they kind of want to explore. How do you go about studying? Is it kind of just sporadic off feeling? Do you like budget time out? Like what does that kind of look like?
I wish I budgeted time out. I should. You should. Anybody who's listening should too. But no, I just kind of like fixate on like people, and then like I just really study them. I like if there's any my go-to is documentaries because I can also do my art while I have a documentary in the background, and then I kind of just like listen to it. Like audiobooks, I love audiobooks.
Okay. Cool.
And then podcasts, anything that has them like that I can kind of keep on in the background and also do my work at the same time. That's been major. Yeah, because it also helps with like your like, subconscious like training of your mentality. Like if you're having that in the background instead of like music all the time or like, it really does make a difference of your subconscious brain.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. I even put out like a tweet today where I was talking about how like a big habit I've just been trying to implement is like I build in my breaks into like the whole grind aspect of my day, even if it's like 15, 20 minutes. But the key change is they're not do nothing breaks. They're like growth breaks. They're like, okay, I'm going to be on YouTube anyway. Let's watch, like you said, like I take a lot of influence from like Cole Bennett and like kind of these guys that I just see them creating stuff for other people and like the impact it's having. And I'll put on that. Just maybe it's an interview. Maybe it's like, I don't know. Yeah. Or, but yeah, so I just see a lot of benefit. Or like I tell people like go for a run, go exercise that hour you're off. Like that's a great time. Exercise, come back, you're more dialed in. I literally went for a run. I worked for like 3 hours this morning, and then I like went for a run, came back, did this. I was like way better headspace than I just worked for 3 hours before 10 a.m. and I want to like my head to go off. But
no, exercise I think is like the most crucial part of my whole like.
Interesting.
I can't be productive if I don't exercise, I don't eat right. You really have to, especially if you're trying to be an entrepreneur or business person, you have to take care of yourself to be successful. Like you have to like be disciplined with also your health and your mental health to like do anything successful in this life.
Yeah.
It's number one.
It's a super simple one. And I think honestly it comes down to maturity and like discipline. Like we're not put here to be, like super lazy and like it's not super like we're really, if you take care of yourself and you want to do the things that not a lot of people can do, you have to also do the habits that those people aren't doing. So like I always think like if 1% of the world is probably doing it and you do it, you're more likely to be more part of that like 1%. If that's the way I look at it, but I know a lot of people they look at their own ways. Now, okay, I think now's a good time to go through this. What are 2 questions you have for the host?
that
Now I'm starting
film.
some icebreakers.